And, oh, almost forgot to, hello. I am back. Let's see, live info, share. Cancel. Facebook. Hello. I am pushing this over to my Facebook account. And then I'll be right back. So how you doing, Cam Rubix? Are we having fun today or what? I think I'm having fun. I don't think other people are having fun today. So, hey, extras. And Thor, welcome. Okay. Since me, your God exists. I'm just. There we go. Posting my links to various places. All right, that should take care of that. Got it out to my X account and to my Facebook. We'll turn those off. So how's everybody doing today? Think we will actually get some sort of evidence that a God exists, or do you think we'll get people just kind of like we did yesterday? That was kind of fun. I hope everybody's day is going well. Yes. My playlist is varied quite a bit. I will listen to, rock and country and some folk and some other stuff. The Who, both WHO and HU. There is, hey, IDK. I don't know if that stands for I don't know or not, but there's a GID, global ID. Why the global ID's name is Jesus, that kind of depends, I suppose. But I assume you mean God, and if you want to, you come on up and we can talk about that. You can try and prove that there is a God. Because I don't think there is one. I have seen zero evidence. So if you've got some, that would be great. Otherwise, it's okay to chat and chat, and that's what it's there for. But I think it's a lot more fun to have a conversation about it, so let's talk. What do you think, IDK? Satan was behind rock music and other genres too. Of course. Right, sure. Sufficient good evidence? We can talk about types of evidence if you want. A sufficiently good argument, which, the typical arguments just aren't. So not surprised. If you want to come up and do your best. There we go. David is requested to join. Hey, David.
Hello. Hi.
So, you've got some wind in the background.
Oh, I'm outside.
Yeah, that probably explains it. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, what do you want to talk about?
So
What's your
I'm
evidence
curious.
for?
Are you still on the line?
I do occasionally am on the line. I'm a backup host there. I'm not there regularly.
Okay, because I wondered what happened to you.
Oh yeah,
So
that I am mostly a backup host on the line. I'm a lot more regular on Atheist Experience. I'm there about once a month, but most of the
yeah.
hosts are there once a month. So every once in a while we'll get on two times a month. But and this month will be in December will be a short month because we're not doing anything. So
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that was my main question because
okay.
I seen you a lot, and then all of a sudden I don't anymore. So I was just
Yeah,
curious.
that's what's been going on. When the Lion, when David is working at the Lion, I was his regular go-to backup host. And when David is no longer working for the Lion, then, and I say working, I mean volunteering. Yeah, they just started using me less, so it's no big deal. I'm actually going to try and talk to them and see if I can't get on more regularly, along with Skeptic Haven and wherever else I can find a niche. So.
Can anybody be a host on the line? Like you fill out an application or like
Um, I honestly I don't know what the normal process is, because I know Jimmy and Matt personally. So when I go and ask, they're going to look at they're still going to treat it like treat me like anybody else, but I'm going to email or text Matt directly. So I don't know that that will work for everybody. I don't know what the process is.
okay, well,
Yeah,
thank you for answering my questions,
you're
and
welcome.
I know you have other people to get to, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. So
All right.
have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Um, why would those rock stars be wearing which rock stars? Kiss is probably the ones you're thinking of. Um, you probably may also be thinking of some of the glam rock folks, but I don't know what you mean by satanic looking outfits, unless you're thinking about, glam rock and. Well, thank you, Parker. This is my fourth or fifth live. So, if Not Surprised is still around and wants to come up, I'd be more than happy to talk to you or anyone else who wants to attempt to provide evidence or a sufficiently good argument to convince me that a god or gods exist. Because I have been doing this for a while on multiple shows. I'm new to TikTok, of course, but I'm not new to this debate scene. And quite frankly, okay, Texas guy, care to prove it? When I see what? Okay. There is a screen that I am missing. Where did it go? Anyway, yeah, so you guys could request to come on up, or I know sometimes TikTok says you can't do that. I'll be happy to invite you. I'll probably have to remember how to do that because, again, I haven't been doing this for very long. Let me move this over here. And if you guys could also, share the stream, that would be wonderful. I'm hoping to as well, Ladrin. Thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate that. Yeah, when you see that, what does that tell you? See what and why would it tell me anything other than they're dressing the way they want to, or they're dressing to create a particular effect, or it's a costume. Who knows? Who cares? Yeah, everyone share it. Not surprised. Arguments should be supported by evidence. But let's face it, none of the arguments are actually convincing. I mean, that's part of the problem, right? Everybody should share it. G4B's spammy account. I like that. Some of you guys have some very clever handles on here. Do the kids call them handles still? I don't know. So, hey, secular emu. I really need to change my name on this thing to Jim, since everyone does call me James. So yeah, Jesus divides his history of humanity into before and after him. So what? That doesn't prove he exists. Doesn't prove he's God. Hello, mental innuendo. I'm happy to be here too. So, Guero, you're welcome to come on up, or you can invite yourself, or I can invite you, however you want to do it. I can joined. I love that. Okay, come on up. Lies Unplugged, come on up. Yeah, it's Jim, which is the informal version of James. So, but I put James on everything by default, and so it gets confusing to a lot of people. I just need to get better at putting Jim. But sometimes I get, what's your official name? Well, my legal name is James. But yeah, Lies Unplugged coming up. Hey, God first, prayer doesn't work, and we know that for a fact. So, but you keep, I will flirt for you and hope you think logically because of it. Yes, James is in the Bible. I know. Oh, thanks, bro, pups. So, God first, do you want to come up and prove that your God exists? I mean, your Bible does kind of require you to do that. Lies Unplugged, would you like me to invite you up, or do you want to invite yourself? Yes, I'm out in the wild. Hey, folks, have you also shared this? What happened to the squirrel? Oh, yeah, you kind of do, OS Carbar. Don't you read your own Bible? Because if you don't, I mean, that's cool, but I really think you should. It's Peter. Oh, that's the one I want. I have it somewhere. Is it 2 Peter or 1 Peter? I never remember. It's funny. Anyway, the Bible does. It is 2 Peter, or something along those lines. Yes, kid, I have a TikTok channel. I'm surprised too. I like Matt. 1 Peter 3:5. I think that is the case. Yes. I do like Matt. Matt is a very different person than he is on the line or when you see him on a show. Unless he's in his calm mood, in which case he's exactly what you see. So, yeah, the Christians appear to be afraid of coming on up. It is 1 Peter 3:15. Let me pull that up. You'd think I would know this, but I have better things to do than to memorize the Bible. I mostly don't care what it says. Slugs is coming on up. Hello, hello.
Hello. Am I in live?
You are on the live, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You are live and as TikTok wide as my my channel gets. So do you believe in God?
I'm already here. Yes, I believe in God.
What's your best evidence?
So, I mean, before I get there, what is, there's different interpretation of God, I believe.
Okay. So tell me which interpretation of God you believe in and what's your best evidence for that God?
Well, I don't think I could put enough evidence for somebody to agree with me, but
Okay, but what's the
I
best
don't think I'm
evidence
going
you
to
have?
attempt that.
But what's your evidence? Define your God and provide your evidence. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, to me, God is everything. You know, me, you, the universe, everything, all together.
Okay, and what's your evidence that that's the case?
I don't think nobody can. I don't think nobody can say this is what God is. God is everything. That's it. I think that would be the answer that will satisfy. You know, in a bigger way. You know, God is everything.
So what does God is everything even mean?
God, everything means that, oh, you can breathe, you can see the moon, you can see the sun,
But
you can
I
see the
have
earth.
perfectly natural. I have natural explanations for all of those things. Why do I need God?
You have a natural explanation for those?
Yeah, I mean, we have a natural
Uh,
explanation for how light works. We have a natural explanation for how lungs work, how oxygen. We understand. We don't understand everything about nature at the moment, but we understand quite a bit. And God doesn't seem to be necessary for any of it. So why the universe exists? Why do I need to call it God?
just the mere fact that it's here, that is God to me. I mean, you know, but
But
just,
why?
you know,
Why add God to it?
why?
It's here. It's wonderful. Sometimes it's mostly trying to kill us, but yeah. Why add God to the equation?
So, I mean, most people want to put God in certain, like, you know, box, but I don't think that's impossible. You know, it's impossible to do that. So, I think the basic best answer is just what you see in reality and everything connected, the universe. I mean, there's so many things I
Right.
could say that is just
You're
connected.
repeat
That is
you're repeating yourself, but you're not explaining yourself, right? I want to know why I should add God to everything that I see. Why does he need to be there?
so. Why can't I take the evidence of everything being here as God?
Well,
I don't have.
that's what I'm asking you because you're doing it. So I'm asking you, why are you doing it?
Why? Because it's just some things are not just coincidence. You know how everything just works. You know, and how the universe, how the earth, you know, trees. It just, I mean, for just the common sense, you know, without evidence, without no scientific evidence, it's just, you know, something that unique to me. You know, if you
Okay.
just think about our reality, our your conscience, you are every little details of that we know of. That to me is God itself.
Right, but why? What makes you come to the conclusion that that is all God? What's your reasoning? You still there?
Yes. Oh, did
Oh,
I get cut off? Sorry.
no, no. I just didn't hear what you were saying there for a minute.
Yeah. So the mere fact that you know we are in here, you know,
But you're
living.
repeating yourself, but you're not explaining yourself, right? I want to know what the reasoning was you used to come to the conclusion that everything is God.
Okay, so I should say is that's just one part of it. Then I can go down to, uh, uh, Jesus Christos teaching, which is Jesus. I know you guys, the name doesn't matter, but the teaching, not necessarily him, but the teaching that he gave.
But there's nothing new to anything that he gave, right? We can see
No,
elements of what Christ preached in older philosophies. So what does that have to do with
y-
anything?
yeah. So I don't truly believe that Jesus was God or anything. Jesus was a human person, somebody who hid the highest conscious form
Okay,
that
so
connected with the universe.
then you've confused me even more. You're claiming that God is everything, and when I asked you to explain your reasoning, you went to the teachings of Jesus, and I don't understand the connection between the teachings of some man named Jesus and your conclusion that everything is God.
So the way I see Jesus is somebody who you know hit the highest point of consciousness, who connected with the Creator, with the
Okay,
universe.
so what's
And
your evidence that that one, there's such a thing as a higher form of consciousness, and two, what's your evidence that he connected with the creator?
So our conscious is very powerful. It can take different forms, but once you understand this, so Jesus is not the
Okay,
person who taught
okay,
this.
so you
It's
said
been
something
around
that
for.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you said something else that I now need uh, a definition for. Uh, Consciousness has different forms. What does that mean, and how do you know that exists?
That can only be if when you experience it. So, and it's kind of hard to
Is
explain
everything
because
you
if you,
experience real? Are our senses that good?
it's not that there's more senses. You just have a different perspective things.
Okay, so
I live.
how do you experience these different forms of consciousness, and how do we test that you are in fact doing it?
That evidence only is for me because I know how I change. I know how I think. I know how I perceive certain things. So those evidence
So
only can apply to me.
is an anecdote really evidence, or is it just an anecdote?
It could be both. It depends on how you. So they say I heard stories like other people could take certain things to see certain things about their conscience, but that's also
But they're just
dangerous. And
stories, right? I have stories of people who can cast fireballs. Does that mean they're true?
what does that mean? Cast fireballs.
Well, exactly. Cast a ball of fire. I have stories about that. I have stories about all kinds of stuff. Does that mean that those stories are true just because there's a story?
Yeah, no, those stories only when you experience them is when you, I guess, are true. Until you experience them, they are not true.
So, if I take a psychedelic and experience fire breathing dragons, does that mean fire breathing dragons exist?
They do, but you will have complication after that because you didn't do it the right way. I mean, it is the evidence. If you see a lot of interviews, people on a life they sell, people die, people go crazy. There's so many things, stories that I'm sure you heard of.
Yeah, but there's stories until we actually have evidence, right?
Yeah.
So just because somebody experiences something doesn't necessarily mean it happens. I mean, I've been half asleep, half awake before, and could swear to you that I had a cat dancing around my legs, even though there's no way for a cat to get into my bedroom at that point. Doesn't mean it actually happened. I have experienced a buddy of mine in the army who said a bunch of Latin sounding words and waved his hands around and said he cursed our radar we were getting ready to go do a test on. And sure enough, as soon as we turned it on and it ran backwards with a groaning noise, we shut it off as fast as we could and we started back up. It worked normally and we couldn't figure out why. Does that story mean that he actually cast a demon into our radar?
Not, but now I think about it, it's very interesting that it feels like something was programmed in us. So even though you can get it the natural way, you can get to that understanding or seeing certain things in natural way, and there's another way that through certain methods, which are very
What?
dangerous. And
How are any of these valid? How do we prove any of this? Right? Because we're jumping around from topic to topic. You still haven't come anywhere close to attempting to connect your conclusion that everything is God to, for some reason, Jesus, and now whatever we experience is true. And I just don't understand how you get there from. How do you get to a God from any of
but
this?
look at what we just had this conversation a second ago. I'm sure you are familiar and you are informed that through certain method, they psychic whatever, you could get to certain spiritual thing.
No, I have
And
no idea. Well, I have no idea what spiritual means. I have no idea what spirit means unless I go look at a dictionary, and that is highly unsatisfying, and I don't think it means what you mean. So I don't know what spiritual is. I know you can have brain states and swear that something happened that didn't happen, but I don't know that any of that is actually true, right? Chemicals acting on the brain is just what we expect. So I don't understand how you get to I have a hallucination because of a drug, therefore the hallucination is real. That makes no sense.
No. You are absolutely right. But to me, that itself is unique. That how big our conscious and complicated and sophisticated it is. That itself to me is, you know, that's God to me. I know I don't see God as the same way as Christians or Muslims and stuff see
Well,
it.
that's fine, but you still haven't explained how you came to the conclusion that God exists, because hallucinations aren't going to do it for me, right? They're just hallucinations. The universe is just a universe. You seem to be overcomplicating things by saying that that's also God. So it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, in a way, it does. But I mean,
No.
you have to ask yourself, what is God? When you say God, what does it come in your head? Like when I say dog, you say, "Oh, dog, four leg, this." Say, God,
Uh,
what
it
God like?
depends. It depends on the context. So, because I don't accept the claim that that a God exists, right? So it doesn't matter to me or to anyone what my view of God is. You're the one trying to prove your God exists.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
So,
So I see no reason to look at the universe and go, "Oh, look, a God exists." That makes no sense.
I'm sure and I know most people, especially certain religions, they have this perspective. The average person, a majority of
I don't
people in
care
the
about
world.
what religions believe. I care about what religions can prove. And none of them
Yeah,
have
but
met their burden of proof that their God or their supernatural beliefs actually work. That's part of the problem.
I think before you get to that point of what is God, that question, what is God perspective in your head? That's a big.
No, you're the one claiming a God exists. You're the one who needs to define that God and then provide a reason to believe in him. And so far,
Yeah,
you just haven't given any reason for why you
but
believe. I don't know why
I
you
gave it to you.
believe.
I gave it to you in the beginning. Remember, to me, God is everything. The tree,
Right, but that makes no sense. Like I
everything.
said, that makes no sense. Right?
I mean,
That's the
that's the only
problem.
way that. It, I mean, other than that, I don't think nobody can explain God to you. I mean, it's impossible.
If
I don't
nobody
think
can
nobody
explain
has.
God, then isn't the correct conclusion that God doesn't exist if nobody can explain it?
But within that life, within everything I told you about in the world and the earth and the universe, and yourself, your own experience, when you truly like seek and understand certain things about even yourself, your conscious, your how everything works, that gives you some kind of like, oh, it
Yeah,
has to
you're
be.
repeating. This is the third time you said the same thing, and you have not explained any of this. How any of this is God? You just make the claim that everything is God, and you leave it at that. And then somehow we wandered on to psychedelics and religions and everything else, and you still have not provided me a solid reason why I should accept that everything is God. You just keep making those same claims.
Maybe I'm half because maybe at one point I can really answer the question, where is God? So I'm not talking about right now at this moment, but in my life, I came to the conclusion, uh, God is everything
But how did
because
you
it
reach that
cannot be
conclusion?
described.
If it can't be described, then how are you calling it? Aren't you describing it by calling it God?
Yeah, but that's through my experience. I came to that conclusion, which it cannot be explained to another person. It's something that you, inside of you, just come to this understanding, and it's hard to explain it.
So you don't have
It's
a reason
impossible.
for why you believe. You believe because it feels good to you. That's basically what it comes down to.
Not only it feels good to me, but what I see evidence of everything. Me, I'm breathing, I'm
But none of
looking at
that's.
the
But
earth.
right, you've made the claim now for the fifth time, and still provided no evidence. I don't think you have any evidence. I think you believe just because you want to believe, and that shouldn't work for you. It shouldn't work for anybody because it's not actually good logic, right?
I mean, it's better than having some other alternative thing that you cannot understand. I mean, at least I can put this in my perspective, and I can appreciate it. At the end of the day, as humans, we are humans, and we ask these questions and we try to figure out. Some people it is at the end of the day, it's so you can live some kind of normal life
I live a
in
normal
some
life.
way.
You don't need a belief in God to live a normal life. In fact, I would suggest that if you believe in something you can't prove, that the garbage in, garbage out principle applies. You're making bad decisions. So
But the proof is that
because
I'm living right here and in the process of
no, see,
this universe.
now you've done it for the sixth time. Just because you're alive doesn't prove there's a God.
No, no, not that I'm alive, but I am in the process of this universe.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
not proof it's God.
so
That's just
God
proof you're
is
in the
not
process of
necessarily.
the universe.
Yeah, but why God has to be some, maybe female or male or looks like us? Could it be that everything that is that let us live in here could that be God without even having?
Well,
I know it's hard to
it
say because
depends on
oh, God knows everything.
how are you
This,
defining.
this, that.
I don't see any reason to call it God. Why not just call it the universe and leave it at that? Hold on just a second.
So I would go
Don't
to.
spam my chat. Hold on just a second. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the idiot who just spammed my chat. Don't do that. Don't, whoever you are, you just got a stupid little cross next to your name. Don't do it again, or I will ban you. I prefer not to, but that's just obnoxious and it doesn't help your case. And you'll probably get a lot of people mocking you for it, which is, again, not going to help your case. And what's going to help your case is to actually come up here and convince me that what you claim is true. Okay, I'm sorry, Slugs. I needed to take care of that real quick because I don't have moderators on my channel. I have my own moderator. But anyway, I've got some other folks who want to come up and talk, Slugs. You've completely failed to convince me. I don't understand why you're convinced. But anyway, I hope you think about it some and actually come up with some good reasons. And if you do, find my live or find me on Atheist Experience or any of the shows I'm on, and let's talk about it. All right.
All right, no problem. Thank you,
All right.
bud.
Thank you. How do I? Where is? Oh, there it is. How do I?
Hey, how's it
Roy
going? Good
from
afternoon.
is it Z Roy or Roy from the
Roy.
Roy?
Yes.
Okay.
How
How's it
you
going, Roy?
doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good for what is it, a Wednesday today? Yes, a
Yeah,
Wednesday today. Fantastic.
hump
It's all
day.
downhill. Yeah. So, do you believe in God?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Can you define your God and provide your best piece of evidence?
Yes, the God that I believe in is a all-powerful, all-knowing, all-wise, and all-merciful God,
Does
right?
evil exist?
Evil, it does exist, yes.
Okay, then your God can't logically exist, and you understand why, right?
And why is that?
Because he can't be all powerful, all knowing, and all merciful and still have evil exist. That
And
makes
why
no
is that?
sense. Because he's all merciful, he's all three of those things. So if he's all merciful, he doesn't want evil to exist. If he's all knowing, he knows
You
evil
know,
exists. And if he's omnipotent, he can do something about it. So evil cannot exist with he just logically can't exist. That God
no,
can't.
and I'll tell you why. You see, first of all, before I get to why, do you do you not believe in God at all? Do you not believe in a higher power, or do
Nope.
you not believe in a specific God?
Don't believe in any gods. Nobody has been able to prove
So,
it. So,
so
and your God can't
no type.
logically exist. And
And
no other God concept actually fits with how we know the universe works. So,
okay, and you're saying there's no higher power. There's nothing of that sort. So when I say God, I mean something worthy of worship. There's nothing
no,
worthy
even
of
if God
worship.
existed, he wouldn't be worthy of worship because I don't think anybody or anything should be worshiped. I think that's a stupid concept.
Okay. So and you believe that there's nothing that is of higher power
No,
of any kind.
no.
Okay, so now, when we look at life itself, and that other guy kept
No,
repeating.
let's go back to the problem of logic that you have with a
Mhm.
triomning God and evil existing. So
Okay,
it
okay.
cannot be the case that evil exists. Your God is
Mhm.
benevolent because if he's omnibenevolent, he doesn't want evil to exist. Do you agree with that?
No, no, God has no problem with evil existing.
Then he's
Zero
not
problem.
omnibenevolent. He can't be benevolent then.
So listen to what I said. God has no problems with evil existing in this world.
Then yes, and I am saying if that is the case, and
Because
if that is the case, then he can't be omnibenevolent.
we have what is called a free will. And God gave us
Free
free
will does
will.
not get you out of this problem at all.
What God gave us free will as human beings,
Free will does not get you out of the problem.
of
Because
course free will. We have free
no, so
will. You can.
first of all, God has demonstrated in your own Bible several times that He doesn't give a shit about free will, right?
And
Because
why not?
he hardened Pharaoh's heart at least twice, right? We know that. He doesn't
Mhm,
care about free will when he impregnated Mary in your storybook, right? None of
mhm.
that makes any sense. He's not benevolent if evil exists. He's not omnibenevolent if evil exists, right?
Wait. So what you're saying is God can do as He wills because He's
No,
bound by
God, if
rules.
he's omnibenevolent, he cannot do as he will. He's bound by, he can only
What
do
He
things that are
can do
good.
as He wills because we're the ones that are doing evil. Which we're the ones that are doing evil.
But
And
he knows
and
why.
we're,
So the problem that you have is that free will doesn't get you out of doing this, right?
so.
Because he knows why we make the decisions we make, and we knows what's influencing the decisions we make, right?
Mhm,
He has the ability, food and survival is a big thing. He can make it easier to survive on this planet. There's a whole lot of things he could have done if he's omnipotent to prevent us from having to make some of the decisions that we make. And in some
mhm,
cases, we know that, like rats, for instance, cannot be bribed to harm other rats, even if they don't know them. We know this for a fact. It's been proven
mhm.
multiple times. But yet, we know that humans, when told by an authority, will harm another human just because they're told to. So
Okay,
it
okay.
doesn't make any sense for you to say that God is omnibenevolent,
Mhm.
people do things, and then we can go look around the world and go, but animals in certain cases act better than humans and have better morals than humans. So this makes no sense. It makes no logical sense for you to say that evil exists and your God is omnibenevolent.
Evil can exist because we have free will.
No, I keep
Evil
telling
exists
you, free will has nothing to do with it. Because, and again, I want you to address what I'm telling you. Free
mhm,
will doesn't get you out of the problem because God
mhm,
knows why we make the decisions that we do and could fix
mhm.
the world in such a way that we would not make those decisions
See what
without
you said.
affecting free will because He's
See,
omnipotent.
right, James. I have to grant you that, but you keep saying you have the mindset that this is supposed to be the perfect world, the world we live
No, I
in.
don't. I don't
Is
have that mindset because I take the world
hold
as it
on.
is, and it's not anywhere near perfect. What I'm saying
No,
is
now,
that because your
James,
God allows evil, He cannot be omnibenevolent.
if evil is not allowed, then we cannot have a test. The whole point of us being on this
I
earth
reject that claim
is
too.
is to test who we are as a person. And if evil is not allowed, then
Then
there will
God
be
is
no
not
test.
omniscient.
This is not.
If God doesn't know who we are as
No,
people, then He's not.
not God. God knows who you are. You
It
don't
doesn't
know.
matter.
You need to find out who
God
you
knows
are.
who I am. God knows
It's
why I make
it's
the
for you.
decisions I'm going to make.
It's for
God,
you.
God knows
It's
all
not for
that.
God. See, now, no matter whatever way that you look at it, James. Here's the thing, right? Whether or not I'm not telling you to believe in this specific God or that specific God, but a lot of religions make a certain claim, and a lot of religions make very similar claim, right?
So what?
We so now here's the thing. What I'm saying, right? You are saying based off of I told you that this is a test. This world is a test, and you said, "Well, I don't care," or "I don't really believe in that." Right? Well,
Yeah,
if it's a test and it's for a test to see, for you to see who you are,
but
whether you are granted
why would
into,
God test people when He knows everything?
you are being tested. It's not for God.
But God
It's
created
for
me, so why
you.
did God create me just to test me? Am I a
God
lab rat?
created you so you can worship Him,
I
and that
wow,
that's
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 narcissistic.
Oh, but
Again, not omnibenevolent.
call it whatever that you want. I mean, when you create a pen, when you make a pen so you can write with it, the pen has a purpose. Everything in this world has a purpose, but you
No,
refuse
no,
to
no.
believe that
The pen.
you're the
No,
only
no,
thing
no.
that doesn't have a purpose.
This pen right here, this pen right now is to annoy people by banging it on a table. It's not the right width,
But that's not why it
right?
was made. It was made
Sure
so you can write
was.
with it.
It's
It was
it's made to, it's
that
made
pen,
for whatever purpose I choose to give it. I don't have to use something for its purpose,
but it
right?
was
Purpose comes from
made.
a
You can use
mind.
it for whatever you want, but it was
No,
made for writing. A pen was
no.
made for writing.
Purpose is applied by a mind, right? So you can't say
So
that
so
everything was built for a purpose because things do things, and
and
we assign purpose to it.
and anything built has a purpose, or else it
No,
would not be built.
no.
You're sitting here, James.
Purpose is assigned
Listen,
by the person using the object. It's not
James.
assigned by the
You
builder.
you're sitting here today, right, with a conscious mind, and all you're just doing is just going through life. Now, whether or not you choose to believe or look for the
Right.
logics or look for God in your life, it's up to you. But at
Well,
the end of the
I'm
day,
here looking for
we know.
God. You're failing to prove
So
him because you're
I
believing in a
didn't
God
fail
that
to prove
logically
him.
can't. But you
You
believe in a
failed to
God that
see.
logically can't exist.
You failed to see God in what I've told you. If you fail to see God in those things, God is not going to come to your front door and tell
Why
you,
would I
"Hey."
accept a God who's logically impossible?
He's not logically impossible. You
Sure
just
he
choose not to
is.
believe in him.
If evil
You choose
exists,
it.
he cannot be omnibenevolent.
You keep telling God what he can and cannot be. See, based off of
No,
your limited
it's
knowledge.
your
You
definition
have
of
limited knowledge.
God.
At the end of the day, James,
Doesn't matter if I have limited knowledge.
we know two things. We know two things.
Your omnibenevolent
James,
God allows evil, does he not?
James, whatever he allows, he allows. But I'll tell you this, right? I don't have anything
How
against
does
God
some
allowing evil.
is it
But
benevolent? Hold on, let me do this. Is it
mhm.
benevolent for you to intentionally harm your child? Is that a benevolent thing to do?
No, but
Is it
there is
benevolent?
such
Hold
thing
on,
as
I'm not
discipline,
done.
right?
I'm not done. Is it benevolent for you to allow your child to come to harm?
I'm sorry.
Is it benevolent to allow your child to come to harm?
Is it benevolent to allow your child to come to harm?
Uh huh.
What do you mean? Is it benevolent
Benevolent.
to allow my child to come? Yeah.
We've been
What do you
talking
mean by
about
that?
benevolent this entire conversation. If you
No,
don't
no,
know what
I understand,
benevolent
but
means,
what do you mean
then you
in that
have a problem.
exact? No, no, I'm saying what do you mean in that specific
Go
case?
look it up in a dictionary. I mean it in exactly that way.
Okay, I'll go look it up.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile,
In the meanwhile, I have
I
other
do have
people
a
to
question
talk
for
to.
you.
Your benevolent God is not logically possible because he
So
allows
at the
evil.
end of the day, you were born and you will die, James. That's what I'm going to tell you. Whether or not you choose to
So are
believe in God
you.
or not, you
So are
have
you.
everybody, yeah, not just me, but not just me, you, everybody.
And
You
so
have appointed time with God, and that's the claim that a lot of these theses are making.
so
You're not
what?
really doing anything. You're not really proving anything, James. You're just sitting here and denying everything without any cause, and
I'm
that's
not
not going to
making a
help you at the
claim.
end of the day.
And I have defended
You're
my
not making any
claims.
claim. All you're doing is just denying claims. Anybody can deny
All
anything,
right.
and at the
Thank
end
you
of the
so
day,
much for Roy. You've been an entertaining
and you know you are,
conversationalist.
and you know your purpose. Go find your purpose in life.
I have a purpose. I'm doing it right now.
I
Thank you very
I
much
wish you
for
a
a
good day.
conversation. I got 3 other people to talk to.
All right,
So thanks
thank
so
you.
much,
You have a
Roy.
good one.
Yeah, you too.
Take
Good
care.
luck. All right, another complete failure. Before I get to the 3 people waiting, I just want to check chat real quick and make sure we don't have anybody messing up. You don't have no consciousness exists. It depends on a brain. Okay, it looks like all right. Here we go. Tiff to UK. How you doing today? Hello. Oh, I guess they left. All right. Christian Lee Trogger. Christian. As soon as you finish spinning there. Well, the icon, the spinning icon thing, it says you haven't connected yet. I know I need mods. I just don't think I've got enough of a following to have them. Oh, Christian, you are still spinning. So I don't know if you can hear me, but you have not connected yet. So I'm going to move on to the next person. Christian, if you still want to talk, I only declined you because you weren't connecting, and I don't know why. So you can try again if you wish. Lightning Bug, you're up next. Hey, you connected. How's it going, Lightning Bug?
Hello.
So are you a Christian? Or do you believe in a God? You don't have to be Christian. You can believe in any God you want. Do you believe in one?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
believe in Jesus.
Okay. Can you do, well, so Jesus of the Bible?
Yep.
Okay. And what's your best evidence that he is real? And
You
don't say
gotta
the
put your
Bible because
faith in
that's,
him.
what, pardon?
You gotta put faith in him.
Oh, so I have to lie to myself until I believe myself?
If you want to put it that way, sure.
Well, it sounds like that's what you did. Is
No,
that
I
a
just
good
put faith.
is that a good way to live life, is just to lie to yourself about things?
Be nice,
I am
joyful,
being nice.
remorseful.
This is the logical conclusion of what you told me, that you have to have faith in him first. And I said, so that means you lie to yourself until you believe yourself. And you seem to agree with
Not a
that.
lie.
But I don't believe in God, and I haven't seen any evidence worth believing. So why do I have to believe in him first? I don't
Who
have to
put you
believe
on
you
this earth?
exist first. I didn't have to believe that you, Lightning Bug, had to exist in order to click on the icon and talk to you, did I?
No.
Okay.
You
So why
chose
do I
to.
have to do that for God?
I don't know. He works in
Okay.
mysterious ways.
Yeah, that doesn't cut it for me either. I can make the same claim, right? All right. He dropped, so I'm going to assume that was anyway, shouldn't make any assumptions. Let me check chat. You have to believe that evidence. Faith is naivety glorified, thought terminating cliche. Yeah, in many cases that is the case. All right. Fenrirson.
Hey James,
Welcome.
how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. How about yourself? Oh, and
I'm
it's
surviving.
Jim. I know my name says James on there. I need to fix it, but I do go by Jim, and
Why would
the
you do
confusion.
that to me, man?
Because it's habit. Whenever someone asks me for they probably said something like legal name or full name, and when they do that, it's turns into James A. Barrows every time, and it's just the way my brain works. So I
Gotcha, Jim. So
apologize
Jim,
for the confusion.
real quick question. Are you free Friday at 7?
Friday at 7. Hold on, I need to check my actual calendar here. I probably am. It's not like my social schedule these days. Yeah, I'm available Friday at 7.
Would you be willing to do a theocratic council?
What is a theocratic council?
Basically, I gather a bunch of people of different religious ideas and beliefs, and we just ask questions of one another for a while. And it went really well a couple weeks ago when I did it, and I was wondering if you would like to be my atheist on the panel.
I think that'd be fun. Sounds like
Okay.
fun.
I will send you an invite, and I'll remind you probably a couple times up until then, just to make sure that you
Yeah. Do you? Well, if you send me an invite, it'll go on my calendar, and I will remember most likely.
Okay, okay.
So, yeah. And are you friends with me on Facebook?
Facebook? No. I mean, this
Okay.
is going to be through TikTok, so
Okay. Then I will make sure to check my TikTok for that invite, unless my email's on the TikTok. However you want to do it.
sounds cool.
All
All
right.
right. Well, I'll keep up with you, and we'll try to get that going on Friday.
Sounds good.
Friday,
Thanks,
7
Fenderson.
at Eastern Standard Time.
Right. So that would be I'm in Central, so I think that's 8. So
Yeah.
cool.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Lovely to
problem.
see you again.
Yeah, lovely to see you. All right. All right, folks. That is the end of the folks in the queue. So we could have some more folks. So CrisbyX, yeah, your God operates on fear, not respect. He wants us to fear him, not respect him. That's part of the problem with him. But if you have evidence, just go ahead and come on up, and we can talk about it. Yeah, that was one interlocutor's position, Brando's, that he didn't have any evidence, just joined. But I suspect he was just trolling, but I could be wrong. But so, wow, there's a lot of folks. Certainly, there are some Christians who want to come up and defend their beliefs. I mean, after all, your Bible tells you to, 1 Peter 3:15, and thank you to whoever suggested that, Tammy, who reminded me of that. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you, to give the reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. So yeah, I am challenging all of you Christians. I'm asking you to give the reason for the hope that you have. Directly asking you, what is the reason for the hope that you have as a Christian? I don't know if there's a similar quote in any other religious book, but if there is, people of other religions can also take that as a challenge. Give me the reason for why you believe. Oh, look at that. It's 45 minutes until sundown. You just have to be pre-programmed to believe. Yes, we are all programmed. That's always fun. Quality of life goes down as time goes. Yeah, getting old sucks. There's someone in your head and it's not me. Perhaps you should see medical help? Nelson? OGD, you are correct, hypothetical theist. For any god, you should be able to demonstrate the methodology that produces evidence for or against that god. And that's why I say there are no gods, is because for every god concept that I'm aware of, the universe doesn't work that way. And of course, the triomni God is logically impossible. So, but also, you can also talk about why you think I should think the Bible, care what the Bible says. It's just literature. Oh, loving shine for Christ. Why don't you come on up and tell me how I'm wrong? And you were unalived. Okay. Cool. Because you're a Christian woman. Well, you're a Christian woman because, yeah, that just logically makes sense. But yeah, come on up. I can send you an invite if you want. Right. Sure they did. And how do you know that really happened and wasn't real just chemicals in your brain doing chemical things? Yeah. But that doesn't prove anything. Unfortunately, your hallucinations don't prove that anything's real. Anecdotes are not data, unfortunately. And when we look at near-death experiences, we find that the near-death experience typically mirrors the religious culture of the person experiencing it. So that doesn't buy you anything, unfortunately. But if you want to come up and talk about it, loving shine for Christ, be more than happy to do that. Yeah, judgmental assholes aren't really someone I'm interested in worshiping, and your God is definitely that, if he exists. Religion is what people made to explain things before we. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we love explanations, and so doing that, we also have a tendency to unreasonably assign cause and effect to things. So. Has no standard metric to evaluate the credibility or likelihood of spirit. Well, hypothetical theist, you need to provide that standard metric to evaluate, to prove your credibility or likelihood of spiritual experience. That's the problem. And I would start with coming up with a evaluatable metric, or a metric, a definition of spiritual that has an evaluatable metric. That would be cool if we could start with that. And atheism is just a single position on a single proposition. So, of course, it doesn't have a standard metric. It doesn't have a standard metric for anything because it is a simple position on a simple proposition. It's a single position on a single proposition. It is not a worldview, unlike Christianity. DNA does not prove God exists. Morality does not prove God exists. And the only historical evidence that we have is 3 books, because Luke is not eyewitness testimony, and the other 3 don't claim to be eyewitness testimony. So you're going to have to do better than that. Ben, why don't you come on up and talk about it? I can explain to you why morality doesn't prove God, or DNA, however you want to do it. But yeah, I am asking every Christian to give the reason for the hope that you have, just like your Bible says in 1 Peter 3:15. Ben, send your request. Alrighty, so there's Judge. Judge, I just saw your request come up, and I am trying to get. This is like my 5th one, guys, so bear with me while I try and figure this out. That seems to have worked. Not moderator report. No, not that one. How do I actually... Oh, there's the invite. Okay, maybe this will work. There it is. Invite sent. All right.
What's up, dog?
Hey, not much. So what do you want to talk about?
I have multiple questions for you.
I have many answers. Let's see if any of them match.
Let's start with morality. And I want to
Okay.
start with a statement more so than a question. If there is no God, morality has no point. So explain to me how morality is real without a God.
Oh, simple. Morality is the label, or moral behavior is the label we put on behavior. We label behavior as good or bad depending on our opinion of that behavior.
What about a behavior that is known as bad? Like right now, like if I just killed someone, about 95% of the population, hopefully 100 would say, okay, what you did was wrong. And inside, I think 90% of killers know what they're doing is wrong.
Well, so first of all, not all killing is wrong. So we consider killing in self-defense to be okay. Whether it's of ourselves or other people, killing in wartime, it seems to be okay. So there are definite exceptions to your absolute rule, which is not the case if you take "thou shalt not kill" as literal, then no killing at all is acceptable. But the simple answer is that cooperation is a survival strategy, and we see this survival strategy being implemented by every social species that we know of, whether that social species is dogs or rats, monkeys, giraffes, any of the herd animals, and we see this level of cooperation. And so we see them respond to behaviors they don't like in the same way that we do. So I have no reason to assign a supernatural explanation to behavior when we have a perfectly natural explanation for that behavior.
I respect your point of view 100%. Now I'll move on to the next one. DNA.
No. You need to respond to that.
In my opinion,
You're not going to distract me you're not going to distract me by trying to move on when you haven't. You can say you respect my opinion all you want, but it's not opinion. It's simply it is an observation of the facts at hand. So.
Well, I just disagree. That's all I can really, based on my faith that Jesus exists and everything that goes along with that. I mean, I'm very simple.
So well, that's problematic. But anyway, so how do you explain the fact that rats cannot be bribed to harm other rats, even if they don't know that rat, and yet humans will harm other humans just because somebody in authority tells them to, or they get bribed enough? How do you explain that difference in behavior?
To be honest with you, I can't explain it.
But if your God gave us morals, shouldn't you be able to?
I think maybe the rat should be able to, but I don't think I could get inside the brain of a rat and wonder why he's not doing that.
It's just behavior.
Like, we're also the most intelligent species on this planet.
That has
And
absolutely nothing to do with my question of why
you're
did God
comparing a
make.
human to a rat, bro.
Well, I'm comparing behavior, the
I
behavior
don't
of a
think you can
rat to a
compare
human's
a
behavior.
I don't think you can compare a rat's behavior to a human's behavior.
But a rat won't harm another rat if they, even if they're bribed, and a human will harm another human for a bribe, or just because somebody in authority tells them to.
I
If
don't
God wrote
disagree with
more,
you on the human
okay,
part.
then what's your explanation for the difference in behavior? Why didn't God make us in such a way that we wouldn't harm another human no matter what?
I
If
think
he
he
can make
did
a
it
rat, if
first.
he did it first, right?
Then Adam sinned, and Eve sinned, and then all that came into the world.
So it
If
is moral. So if you commit a crime, should I lock up your kids along with you?
Not at all.
Then why is it okay for God to punish the children of Adam and Eve if you don't think it's fair for society to punish you and your kids for something you did?
I don't necessarily think he solely punished their kids. I think he punished his creation as a total.
Again, that's a distinction without a difference, isn't it?
If you want to call it that, sure, I won't disagree.
Okay, so why is it moral for God to punish his entire creation, everybody who came after Adam and Eve? And he's very clear about that, right? About who he's
Right.
punishing, because every woman's got to have pain in childbirth, et cetera, disease, the whole 9 yards. Why is it moral for God to do that and punish the children of Adam and Eve, but it's not moral for society to punish your children for something you did?
I think that Jesus and the God that I believe in, the Holy Trinity, I think he is a righteous, jealous God.
That's not an answer
So
to the
I,
question, though.
it
How
is.
can he be righteous if it's not right for society to lock up your children and you for something you did, but it's righteous for God to punish the children of Adam and Eve?
I don't know. I guess I have to do more research on my own faith.
Yeah, I think so, because it makes no sense, right? The whole atonement thing makes even less sense. Do you think if your kid committed a crime and you went to the judge and says, punish me instead of my kid, would that be justice?
Not at all.
But you believe in Jesus Christ, you claim to do the exact same thing.
I do.
So you don't believe in justice?
I believe in justice on a worldly aspect of it. I will never be able
But
to put
how
myself
is
in the
it
mind of a God.
just? How is it just for how is substitutional atonement just at all? Right? Shouldn't you be taking personal responsibility for what you do? And that's why we punish the offender and not someone who wants to be punished instead of the offender. So how do you
Shouldn't
justify
is the
that?
key word in that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't is the key word
Right.
there.
And
But
why
the
is
thing
God
is,
allowed to
I
do
don't,
things that we're not?
because
Why
me
is
and you
it
can't put ourselves in the mind of God.
the ends justify the means? Is that true?
Sure.
And
I
okay, so
don't think me and you will I don't think me and you will ever be able to accurately perceive his opinion or the strategies that he invokes on us or the rest of his creation.
okay,
I
so
don't think we're meant to.
so how is the ends justify the means just or good?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry, I'm
How
at work.
is
I
the
couldn't hear you.
ends justify the means just or good?
Maybe word it differently because I'm not understanding.
Okay, so when the mustachioed man started doing experiments on people of a certain faith, and those experiments benefited humanity in general, was that a good thing to do?
It's not good on our
Then why
aspect
does
of
God?
it, but it all has a
So the
reason.
ends do not justify the means, and yet you're claiming that the ends justify the means for your God.
Like I said, me and you will never be able to put ourselves in his brain.
That just sounds like an excuse you're making because you can't actually come up with a good reason as to why there's one morality for God and another one for us, which means that there is no such thing as objective morality, because objective things there's only one of. right? Well, there's only one universe that's objective that exists outside of our own minds, not two. And that's a problem. That is a serious problem if you're going to claim morality comes from God. Because God appears to have one morality. He can do things. He can do things like wipe out everybody but one family on the planet. He can kill everybody, but we can't kill? Sounds like a double standard to me. So how do you explain this double standard of morality?
The only thing that I can tell you is he is the creator, and that's where our faith as Christians comes in. I don't think we have evidence, logical evidence to even prove his existence, dog. I really don't,
Okay.
but I don't think
All
we're
right. So
supposed to.
is it reasonable to believe in things for which you have no evidence?
Is it reasonable to not have faith?
Yes. It's the
I
most
disagree
reasonable
completely.
thing. But see, is there anything I can't assume is true based on faith alone? For instance, you are 3 gerbils in a human suit. Could I believe that with absolutely no evidence?
If you had the faith.
Oh, so it's reasonable for me to assume that I'm talking to 3 gerbils in a human suit.
If you have that faith, then yes, it is.
Should I take it on faith that I can walk across a busy highway and not get hit by a truck or a car?
If you have that faith, yes,
Right.
you won't get hit.
Yeah. Do you realize just how absurd what you just said is?
100% I do. That's how crazy
Okay.
it's supposed to sound.
Right. Perhaps you might want to think about that some more. I've got 4 other people that want to talk to me.
I got you. Let them join up. I'll leave myself.
All right. Yeah, thanks for talking. Hey, Ben, I don't want you to take this as a complete dismissal of if you want to come back and talk again, do so.
Oh, no, I didn't. I respect
Okay.
your opinion.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you later, Ben. All right. Let me check chat real quick. The bribe part is not meaningless. I don't know I know what you're talking about. I don't understand what you're saying. Because I was comparing behavior to behavior. So the bribe part was important because that's how they're getting the rats to harm other rats, was by bribing them. And we can bribe humans to do the thing. We can't do that. Rats won't do it. So anyway, Judge, you are up next. Hello, Judge. How's it going today?
It's going great, man.
Good. So are you a believer?
Yeah, I used to be an atheist, and then I realized that was a really bad position, and then had 6 minutes of clinical death, was studied in the AWARE program, and changed my mind about that.
Oh, cool. So anecdotal evidence that only you experience and only you can accept as true.
Well, I mean, I don't give a crap if you believe it. I mean,
Okay.
I was studying the AWARE program, and the data is going to be released hopefully next year. So,
Oh, well, will it be peer reviewed? And it will be anything more than just a report on what you experience? Because that's so far all the near-death experience reports that I have seen are basic reports of what the person experienced with no attempt to actually prove that what they experienced was true. And
yeah,
actually
there's
existed.
actually 5 of us in the report that have
Okay,
conclusive.
and how did they eliminate you hallucinating? What procedures did they do to actually attempt to prove that what you experienced was real?
Right. So first of all, we were all atheists in the room, and no information was being discussed. They were basically trying to bring me back to life, and I had evidence that I was in an unauthorized employee-only section where they locked up your belongings, and I knew the exact locker number and the color of the room, pictures that were on the wall that were personal, where only one person had a key accessible to it for legal reasons.
Okay. And did they film all this, and they've got audio to make sure no one was talking about it and that you didn't see any of it, et cetera, et cetera? There was actually an attempt to do this in a scientific manner, and you're claiming that they got the ethical approval to almost kill you?
They didn't almost kill me. They were saving me. Where did you get the idea they were almost killing me?
Well, if they were saving you, how did they have time to set all this up?
Set all what up?
Set up all these test conditions you just mentioned.
Test conditions? There weren't any test conditions. I had strep throat. I went into the ER. I passed out. Well, at least I thought that I had passed out. Apparently, I had unalived in the waiting room. They were cutting off my clothes and when they were taking my hat, which was given to
Okay,
me by my
so there was
grandfather.
no attempt to isolate variables. There's no attempt to turn this into an
Yeah, no,
actual
no, no,
experiment.
no, no, no. They actually interviewed all of the participants in the
Okay.
room and gave affidavits
What
that they were telling the
room?
truth.
What room?
Yeah,
So you're
the ER.
after you had this experience, they got 4 or 5 of you in a room from different ERs or the same ER?
They interviewed everybody that was working on me. Again, all atheists, including
Okay,
myself at the time.
so what we have is still anecdotal evidence. We don't have any attempt to eliminate variables. We don't have any way to prove that you could not have known any of it. So it's just a report of what you
Wow. So you just
experienced.
made a whole bunch of leaps of logic that I never claimed. They did actually do significant investigation, interviewed everybody, and they put in statements
Right.
of
I'm not saying they
affidavits.
didn't investigate it, and I'm not saying they didn't interview
Well, then why did
everybody.
you
What
say I
I'm
didn't do
saying
any of that?
is that
It's
they
so weird.
didn't attempt to isolate variables,
Yeah, they did
right?
actually. Yeah,
How
they
did, how
did.
did they so how did they isolate variables of what happened before or during your ER visit? Because that wasn't
Yeah,
planned, right? You didn't plan on going to the
right.
ER. You didn't call these
No.
people up and go, "I'm going to the ER."
Yeah, they verified that I had no previous record of ever being in the hospital or in that area, that nobody in the room had any
And
conversations of ever
okay,
anything. Yeah, yep.
right. Again, it just sounds like a
Anyway, we can
report.
move
You
past.
need to
Well, you're not going to
isolate.
believe it anyway.
Well,
You're not going to
like I
believe it
said,
anyway. So
I've
let's just
read
move on past
multiple
the anecdotal.
I've read multiple NDE reports, and they all read the same, right? And that's a problem because there's no attempt to isolate variables on what happened, right?
Well, in our case, we did. They did, again, extensive
You can't control
interviews.
variables
And
on a random event. You just can't.
again, there's no way I could have known the locker room or the
That's your
location of the locker
claim.
room. Yeah, and it was all backed up and supported by atheists.
I don't care who. I want to know what the
I
evidence. I
know
don't
you
care who's
don't
backed
care.
up with
I
that
know. Can we move
by
past the
atheists.
anecdotal and get into the meat of the conversation, since you won't accept it no matter what I say anyway? Can we just move on, since you're not going to accept that? And I didn't
Okay,
want
yeah,
you to.
I
I'm
don't
just
I
telling
don't
you the
accept
reason.
anecdotal evidence, and
I'm
that's all
just
you're presenting.
well, I was just telling you why I'm no longer an atheist.
Okay.
That was not.
You
That's
had
not
an
my.
anecdotal piece of you had
Yeah,
an anecdotal experience. Now you believe.
yeah. So that's the reason why I'm no longer an atheist. But even in your worldview, if I were to adopt it, you would at the end of our discussion say, "I don't know," because you would have to believe in miracles yourself, right?
Well, I see no reason to believe in miracles, and yes, I don't know is the most logical. Because the problem that you have with the supernatural, with any supernatural claim, is that we have zero evidence for the supernatural. So we can't really assign the supernatural as a cause to anything until we have evidence of the supernatural. And so we can basically go, at best, with NDEs, you have an unexplained phenomenon, at best.
No, even though we can't necessarily have direct evidence of like a supernatural type thing or metaphysical type thing, we could still conclude that there's a logical conclusion that there is something there that makes more logical sense than your worldview.
Well, my worldview ends with I don't know. I don't make any claims other
Right.
than that. You're
Yeah.
making a
See.
claim that the supernatural exists. So you're actually making a claim you can't support.
Well, it makes
I don't
more
make any other
logical.
claim.
Yeah, my position has more logical sense than yours. Like, for
How? You
example,
can't prove the supernatural exists. So how is that logical?
yeah, again, you exist, and that is enough evidence for me. The fact that you exist, versus your worldview, which is why does anything
How,
exist at all rather than nothing? You can't answer
well,
that
no,
question.
we actually can't answer that because first of all, we know from physics that nothing doesn't exist, not the philosophical absolute nothing. Right? We know that's not possible. And for the nothing that physicists can prove exists, we've actually created matter out of light and other things. So no, we actually have perfectly natural explanations for why things exist. We know that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, not by your God, not by anything. And so as long as we have energy, then we know that nothing doesn't exist.
Yeah,
We
where did
also
energy come from?
it can't be created or destroyed.
Yeah, so where did it come from?
It can't be created or destroyed.
Are
That's
you
the answer
saying
to your question.
are you saying it's internal?
I don't know what eternal means outside of, because
Always
space and time,
existing?
well, always still implies time.
Right.
And the best explanation we have is that time and space exist together. So I don't know. We don't have the language to talk about things that exist outside of this universe.
Yeah. So neurons, so atoms have no awareness, right? They have no consciousness, and yet neurons are made of atoms, yet somehow we have consciousness. Can you explain that?
Yes, that is, when you put things together, very often you get new and surprising things. Atoms also don't know how to explode, and yet you apply fire to gasoline and you get an explosion. If you do that in a controlled manner, atoms also don't know how to build engines. They don't know how to do engines. And yet, when we put them together, they build engines.
Right. So how does intent come out of chaos?
Who says that intent comes out of chaos? Where does intent
Well,
come
you would
in?
have to explain how order came out of non-order. You'd have to
Yeah,
explain that.
yeah,
That's a mystery,
that's
right?
called the laws of thermodynamics.
That's Are you joking? You're
No,
gaslighting right now, right?
no. The laws of thermodynamics explain how order comes out of disorder. That's literally what they do.
Yeah, there's no direct evidence of any abiogenesis where
Sure, there is. There's a ton of
no,
there's
no,
there's
there is.
not
No.
there's not a start to end
No, there's
evidence.
hypothesis, there's experiments,
There's a
but
ton of right.
there's zero direct evidence.
And
Well, you're just
there's
talking about
more evidence
hypothetical.
there's more evidence for abiogenesis than you have given me or any Christian in the last 10 or 15 years, however long I've been doing this. And the other atheists I know that have been doing it longer, 30 years, have been able to provide.
No, the scientific community is actively attempting to research that, but there's been no direct evidence. There's nothing that has spontaneously came from non-living matter. That just doesn't.
Molar experiments, yeah, and we know that the chemicals needed for the prebiotic chemicals needed for life exist in a lot of places. We have no
Yeah.
reason to believe that anything supernatural is necessary for life, because we have no reason to accept
What?
as true the claim that anything supernatural exists.
Yeah, even the simplest living organisms possess significant challenges to your hypothesis.
So what? We have no we have
So
no
what?
reason to conclude. Yes.
I think God,
So let me
God made
finish.
it. Yeah, I
There
think
is
that there's.
absolutely no reason to conclude from that the supernatural or God exists. We simply have something we can't explain.
Yeah,
The
like I
logical
said,
conclusion
you
is to say,
don't
I don't
know.
know, not I don't
Yeah.
know, therefore God did it. Right?
Well,
That's the God
I
of the
mean, again,
gaps.
you believe miracles, right? You just admitted that you don't know, so you're taking a leap of logic and assuming, even though you don't have direct evidence.
No, I'm saying I don't know, period. You're saying I don't know, therefore God.
No, but I told you there's more evidence that at least following Jesus specifically and his precepts are better for living than a subjective
we can
moral
actually
position.
all morals are subjective, but
I disagree.
we can also
That's your
point out
opinion.
that if you go look at the Harvard study on happiness that they've been doing for the last, well, it's been more than 80 years, but the last time I looked at the website, it said 80 years. On what makes people happy, and one of the things is the number of people you actually know. And religions are really, really good at building communities. So of course you're going to have higher happiness because of that. It doesn't have anything to do with the faith. It has everything to do with the community that religions build, which they do very well.
Or your biology is telling you what your religion is already suggesting you do. Right? Because we didn't know back when the Bible was written that being monogamous allows you to live longer. But now we have
the Bible doesn't suggest
Yeah.
monogamy at all. Certainly not the Old Testament. You can't get it out of the New Testament either. So you don't get monogamy out of that.
Yeah, but we do know that being monogamous, one husband, one wife, right? That is in the Bible. Yeah,
No.
that's that. Yes, it is.
David didn't have one wife. None of the kings of Israel had one wife.
Yeah, there's lots of egregious things that were in the Old Testament that we don't adhere to because they're not moral precepts that were carried over into the New Testament. Yeah. So there's all kinds of
Ah,
traditions
you're one
that
of those. You're one of those Christians that assumes that the Old Testament can no longer be paid attention to because of one quote out of the
no,
New
the
Testament.
morality was carried over, but not the
But you do.
traditions and the things that you're
The
referencing.
morality was carried over, so slavery isn't moral, even though God approves of it.
Oh, you've got some confused idea of what slavery is in the Bible. I got it.
No,
Okay.
I don't. Slavery.
Sure you do.
We're talking about chattel slavery,
No, we're not.
and
We're talking about
yeah.
indentured servitude.
No.
Are you saying it's comparable to American slavery? What was in the
Yes.
Bible?
Yeah. In
Wow,
fact.
you're delusional.
No. Hold on. Let me.
Did
Where
American
is?
slaves have rights? Because in the Bible, slaves have rights. Were they allowed to go
No.
free? Were they allowed
No,
with
they
slavery
weren't.
in
That's the
America? The
problem. They
slaves were
weren't
allowed to
allowed
go
to go
free.
free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
So
actually allowed to go
the
free in the
only
year of
slaves that were
Jubilee.
allowed. Hold on. The only slaves that were allowed to go free were Israelites. Only
That's
the
not
men,
true.
not the women.
No, that's a lie.
Yes.
You're lying.
And how do you explain?
You're totally lying, dude.
No.
Yeah, let me
How
prove
do
to you.
you?
Let me
How
prove
do
to you
you?
that you're lying. Let me show you the difference between the cultural and the historic. I'll just break it down for you. So
No.
slavery in
So
the Bible,
how do you?
slavery in the
So
Bible,
this is.
particularly in ancient Israel, was often tied to economic hardships and social structures
No.
at the time.
So
Yeah,
Exodus 21,
yeah. It was to
Exodus
pay a
21,
debt.
20 through
It was a.
21. Exodus 21, 20 through 21.
I know
If
it
a
well,
man
dude. You don't have
strikes
to read
his
it to
male
me.
or female slave with a rod and he dies at his hand, he shall be punished. That
Oh,
is chattel slavery.
yeah.
But if, however, he survives a day or two,
It's
no
so
vengeance
wrong.
shall be taken, for he is his money.
Oh, so you're saying, yeah. Do you know what indentured servitude versus chattel slavery is? You don't know the difference?
Yes, chattel slavery is property or money, which is exactly what Exodus 21, 20 through 21 says.
Yeah, they were based off of economic necessities and social interactions rather than, for example,
No,
I know I can't
no.
finish a
This
sentence
is
without you
this is
jumping in and lying.
no. I'm looking
Yeah,
exactly at
let
what
me actually
this
finish a
translation is, and the
sentence. Let me
translation is
finish a
correct.
sentence.
For
Can I
he is
finish like
his
2 words
property.
before you
Sure, go
pivot?
ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. So when we're talking about the differences between biblical slavery and American slavery, the differences are vast. So in many biblical passages, slaves were given certain rights and protections. For example, in the very passage you mentioned, Exodus 21 outlines specific regulations regarding the treatment of slaves. However, in American slavery, they didn't have any legal rights. They were not let go. So after 6 to 10 years, they were allowed to leave. The year of Jubilee, they were allowed to be freed.
Okay,
American slavery, they weren't allowed to be
so
freed.
first of all, you're completely ignoring Exodus 21, 21, where it says that he is his property, right? And then if you're missing Exodus 21, 2 through 11, if a man sells his daughter as a female slave, she is not to go free as the male slaves do. If she is displeasing in the eyes of her master who designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. So no, women were not allowed to go free. They're in Exodus
Well,
21, 2,
that was
7.
to protect women because women weren't allowed to be
No.
on their own in that
How
cultural
does it
context
protect women to allow them
because they
to be
couldn't
forced to have
survive
sex?
in the society they were in by being a single
So that
woman.
justifies
There's
forcing a woman to have sex if she doesn't want to? Because that's exactly
nobody's
what this is.
forcing it. Hello,
If she is displeasing
hello.
in the eyes of her master who designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. How is that not sexual slavery?
Yeah, that because a woman is not allowed to be on their own. They would have not survived in the cultural.
I agree with you
They wouldn't
entirely.
have.
I agree
They
with you
would.
entirely.
They would have been
How does that
unalive. They wouldn't have been
justify?
able to make it. Hello.
So that
Hello.
allows for sexual assault.
Yeah, culture was different
Why
back
couldn't
then.
God
You know, like
have
we didn't
said that
have
no, you
things.
can't
couldn't
have
go down to the grocery store and just get food. I know it's a shocker to you.
No,
I mean,
it's
I know
not.
you're not
I
smart
know
enough to
more about how
recognize
people
that.
live than you do, I'm sure. But
I'm pretty
this
sure
is the
you don't.
problem.
Well, you think that the rod is some sort of a bean stick when it was a shepherd's staff in order to hook the end of a sheep and coerce them back in.
And
Not
beating
beat
people with a
them.
rod is a bad
Not
idea.
beat. No. It says if you did that, that would be wrong because then you would be misrepresenting the rod.
Beating children is bad. Now, then we've
it
got
actually is
Leviticus
bad, right?
19:20
Yeah,
through
because the rod
22.
was the rod of correction, not beating. Hence, not beating your slave. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you don't understand the
So
Bible at
if
all.
a man strikes his male or female slave with a rod and he dies at his hand, he shall be punished.
Right, because that's wrong.
If, however, no, it's not.
Yeah,
He
it's
survives
wrong.
a day or two, no vengeance shall be taken, for he is his property.
Yeah, but if you understand the concept of like stoning in the Old Testament, right? The measure of how
Yeah,
to
could you
implement that would
imagine?
be Jesus giving the
That
example of
is,
how
you're
to
just
apply the law. And what did he do when he was said, "Oh, we could
stoning
stone
people
this
is
woman"? What did
immoral.
Jesus do? Jesus was sinless? He had the right to stone. He didn't have any sin. He could have stoned her. Did he stone her?
No,
No, he
no,
didn't
it
stone
was
her.
never
Why
right.
not? He could
Your
have. He had
God
the right.
changes his morals with the times.
No. He actually instructs stupid people like you who have taken the law out of context and applied your own
I'm not
thinking to
taking
it.
any of this out of context.
Sure,
I'm
that's what you're doing.
sorry.
You're
I'm
taking
literally
your
reading
own
it.
understanding and you're
No, I'm
applying your
literally
own
reading it
morality to
for
it,
word and
even
accepting the
though
words as the true.
Jesus was
So
implementing how to
anyway,
implement
you
those
need to read.
laws.
You need to read your. You need
So
to
when
read
did
your
Jesus
Bible
beat
better, and you
when
need
did
to stop
Jesus when did
applying
Jesus
the
beat
most pop.
slaves? Yeah, when did Jesus
Mhm.
beat slaves or unalive anybody? Because
It
he was the
doesn't matter.
example of how to imply. He was the
It
example of
doesn't
how to apply
matter.
the law.
God says it's okay to do that, and God commands people to kill other
Well, wait a
people, even
second.
though He says, "Thou shalt
If
not kill."
Christians believe that
And
Jesus
God
is
also
God and we're supposed to be following God and Jesus is the example, please give me an example where Jesus was doing any of that stuff.
does it matter
Otherwise,
because
you're
He
a
allows
liar.
it? No.
You're a liar. You're a liar. Now you're
All
applying
right,
things
Judge.
that
Thank you
Jesus
so much.
never
I have
did.
other people to
I know you're
talk
going to
to.
concede. Are you going to drop and
No,
concede? Yeah,
no,
you're
I'm
going to
not
concede.
conceding anything.
Sure, you are.
No, because we've come to an impasse. You're not reading the
Oh,
verses
you just want me to
as
believe
they're
your
written.
bullshit, and
So,
then when I cook
yeah,
you, where I show
no,
Jesus
you.
as the example of how to apply the law, and you
I
can't
don't
give me
see
a
Jesus
single
as the
example of
example
any
of
of
how to
those
apply the
examples you
law
gave,
because He
yeah,
didn't change the law. So that's how it
you
goes.
couldn't give me a single example.
All right. Ian,
Man.
you're next.
Can you hear
Don't
me,
know how.
sir?
Is it Ehen or Ian?
Ian.
Ian. Oh, Ian. Okay.
It's all good.
That's okay. So, are you a Christian
I am,
or a
yeah.
believer? Yeah. Okay. So, what's your best evidence for God?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I got muted there. I don't know. Did you mute me? I don't know what happened
No,
there.
I have not. My mouse pointer is nowhere near anything that could possibly mute you, as far as I know.
I don't know what's going on there. One sec. All right, so I look at it from the philosophical angle. I think about the three branches of philosophy: metaphysics, ethics, and epistemology. I think the atheist worldview doesn't have a very good account for any three of these, while the Christian worldview does give a coherent account for all three of these domains. So let me give an example.
But
I'll just give an example, right?
Your claim doesn't actually make any sense whatsoever, since none of well, there's more than just those three branches of philosophy. First of all, beauty and what we consider to be beautiful, or can't think of the name of it, is also a branch. Ethics, well, I've already had a conversation on that. Ethics, we can simply go and look at the fact that every social species we have has behavior that, if it was done by a human, is called moral, because cooperation is a survival strategy. So I can just look around the world and come to these conclusions. I don't need a God for any of that. But go ahead.
Sure, let's do ethics. And yeah, I would agree, right? Like beauty is another. So yeah, I wasn't exhaustive. I was just saying like the three major branches. But okay, let's do ethics, right? Ethics is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read David Hume, the is-ought distinction?
Yes, and that has absolutely nothing to do with my response to God has nothing to do with morals. There is no objective morals.
Oh, so there are no objective morals.
That's
Would you
correct.
say it's subjective?
They are all subjective, yes.
Okay,
They're all
so
opinions of behavior. They're all opinions we apply to behavior and nothing more. Therefore, they can't possibly be objective.
Okay, well that's a good thing for you to say. So then you just had a conversation with a guy saying, "Oh, but the Old Testament does slavery, right?" So you would just say that your contention with slavery in the Bible is just your own subjective preference?
That's correct. But I have
Okay.
let me be more accurate. So I have a subjectively chosen standard against which I can apply objective measures, right? And my subjectively chosen standard is things that improve the happiness of the human population are good, things that cause less happiness among the human population are bad. That is completely subjective. And using that, because I can look at the Harvard study on happiness over the last 80 years, that we can objectively measure that. And we can objectively measure that slavery does not increase human happiness across the entire population, especially among the slaves.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting way to go about it. We could debate the specifics of, how happiness works, what does it mean, how is it defined. But I would still like to before
It looks like you muted yourself again.
Sorry, yeah, my friend's calling me. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I would just still say that making a ethical system based on happiness, it's still arbitrary, right? Because someone else could come along.
I admitted that at the very beginning, Ian. Right? I said it is a subjectively chosen standard against which I can apply objective measurements.
Okay.
So
Well,
I've admitted that. You're repeating it doesn't help you at all.
No, I understand. I'm just going slow because I want to clarify things before we start going down any rabbit holes. But what you say too, right? Like if I was a skeptic and I was an atheist who was like skeptical, shouldn't I be skeptical of your arbitrary subjective thing? Isn't that just as arbitrary as someone who believes in God?
Yes.
Okay.
I've admitted that, right? So again, if you're going to keep just restating things I've admitted, this conversation is not going to go anywhere fast.
Okay. No, that's good. So one thing I'd say, right? What if people say that in the future? I mean, I'm not even going to question that because I think you've gone there. What about epistemology? Have you heard the naturalist fallacy before?
Yes.
Okay, so do you think it's possible to acquire objective knowledge 100% in your worldview?
No. We can because we don't know anything for 100%, because science doesn't do 100% as far as we can tell. We can have high confidence in things, and we can define high confidence however you want. As long as we agree that something has we don't have to put a number to it, nothing is 100% for sure.
Okay. Do you want to just tell me what you think the naturalist fallacy is, just so I know we're on the same page?
I will have to look it up.
Yeah, no worries.
If my fingers would work, we could do that. Logical error of assuming that because something is natural, it is also morally good or right. Yeah, I don't assume that. Because again, in order for that to be true, morality would have to be something more than a label we put on behavior.
Okay, no, that's good. Okay, no, that's good. This is really good. This is productive. Would you say that, do you believe in evolution?
Of course.
Okay, so here's a problem, right? Here's a philosophical problem with evolution, right? Is if human beings have evolved for survival, that means that our brains and what they generate are oriented for survival, and they're not necessarily oriented for truth. Now, they could accidentally be oriented for truth, but we would never know. So this creates a epistemological problem. We don't know for certain that our brain is generating truth and true statements, and not just things that are convenient illusions for survival.
Yes. However, we do have to recognize the world and to know what exists, and therefore we have to know something about truth in order to survive, right? We have to know that, this gets kind of tricky because we have a tendency to assume cause when we don't have any reason to. So if the bush is moving, we assume that it is caused by a animal, probably a predator. We assume that because nature has programmed us over the years that we should avoid predators, right? But that doesn't change the fact that we have to know that it is true that the bushes are in fact moving, even if we assign a invalid cause to the movement. So that doesn't seem to me to be a problem at all, right?
Okay, no, that's really good. That's a good example, right? Just assuming causation because we see two temporally consecutive events. That's really good. But I think the problem is more fundamental than that. For example, that's one example that we know. Like, and we know, for example, when people make arguments based on emotion, right? Humans are emotional creatures. Emotions help you
Yeah,
survive.
in fact, we know that if you destroy the emotional centers of, well, rats and human brains, that humans and rats cannot make decisions, to include decisions to eat. So
No,
yes,
that's yeah.
emotions are a problem. And again, this goes out to everybody, and I need you to, Ian, to take this with a grain of salt. But I swear I saw a show going into what affects people's moods. And one of the things that they did, the experiments they did, if anybody could find this for me, because my Google Foo is bad on this, has not been able to find either the show or the reference. But they were doing an interview, and the interviewer was the one being tested, even though they told everybody he was the interviewee. And one of the things they found was whether or not, a hot or cold beverage was in the interviewer's hands had more effect on the person being interviewed, on whether or not they wanted the person to work for them or not, than almost anything else. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because we know that hot summers, people tend to get cranky, crankier than it is when it's cold out. So we know that all kinds of things affect emotions, but none of that means that we can't actually reason and that we can't actually think or know what is true. They are barriers and they are problems, but it doesn't mean we can't. It just means we have to work harder.
Okay, no, that's really good. And yeah, no, so I'd probably agree with that, right? That's a good thing to consider. But what I'm kind of getting at too, right, is our whole conceptual schema, our whole brain, the way we see reality, right? Like even the way we perceive the spatial temporal framework around us could be compromised, or it could be something that was conveniently construed for evolution. Another thing is words, right? So we use words to make statements and to predicate. We're assuming that those words have meaning, but they might just be convenient sounds that we learn to espouse.
I think they are convenient sounds that we assign meaning to. There is a really fascinating study of meerkats where the scientists doing the study discovered that meerkats were describing the human approaching them by the color of the coat they were wearing. We know that dolphins speak and that whales speak. So do they have the same types of ability to think like we do? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But that's all. Yeah, it's all sound, and we know that other species verbally communicate.
Okay, no, that's good.
And I say verbally, I mean with sound.
I know what you mean. Yeah. No, I get you. And no, these are really good points. Like you've seen this before. You kind of know what I'm saying. So now I'm kind of trying to tie it into a big problem, though, which is if humans are just kind of like other animals, we just evolved like any other animal. This creates a huge epistemic problem where we can't trust any of the words we say. We can't trust any of the ideas in our brain. We can't trust the format of how we perceive reality. So we can't even do empirics. And this creates a huge epistemic problem where we can't even convince ourselves that of anything to be true, right? And
no. So, well, let me back up. It depends on, as long as we define true as that which comports with reality, we can know things that are true despite all the problems that you just mentioned, right? We can know that the bushes are moving. That is true. We may not know what's causing them, and so we make assumptions, etc. But the reason that we can trust science is because there's a process by which we can do it. And if we can repeat the process, then we have a high confidence. With the more times we repeat it, we have a higher confidence that that happens to be true. Have you read Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow?
No, I haven't. What's that?
There's actually two books based on this. The Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow is what the guy who wrote it is a Nobel-winning psychologist, and it's a summary of his research into human psychology. It's a pop summary. And it's important to understand that, because if you read it, you'll probably closely you'll find holes in it. But that's because he's not actually providing a he's not writing it for peer review, right? He's writing it he's got to gloss over some stuff in order to keep the book understandable, etc. But it's all based on his research, and it's all based on the research he did to get his Nobel Prize. And basically what it says is that there are two models of thinking that we use in our brains. Now, when he says models, he doesn't mean you can go and go, oh, this set of neurons is for this model, right? That's not what he's saying. But it's but the model is helpful to think about how we think. So model one is just a pattern recognition system, and model two is our deep thought system. Model one thinking is things like, if I say 1 + 1, everybody who just heard that said 2. They didn't do any thinking about it. They didn't do the math. They pattern recognized it. That's thinking one, and it's super cheap and easy. It's very, energy-wise, it's very cheap to do, that kind of pattern recognition. But if I say, what's the square root of 3,000,000,002? Now we have to do the math, right? And we actually have to think about that because we don't have that pattern recognition to do that. And so these are the two models of thinking. And we're capable of both, even though the core of the system is pattern recognition. So we can know all of this. It's not an epistemic problem, and psychology answers it for us. And neuropsychology is getting neuroscience in particular is coming up with some interesting things too, with their ability to observe thoughts in the brain. So I don't think it's a problem like you think it is.
Okay. No, that's good. Okay, let me approach it from a slightly different angle. Have you ever heard of phenomenalism? Or we only ever know things according to how they appear to us, not how they actually correspond to reality. Like, here's the example, right? Here's the example. I'll just make it simple with an example. So when the light that goes to the bush and then it travels back to the eye, I used a bush example. It's very possible that the way your brain and the way the human person works is that it filters the information that comes in, like the beam of light. It filters it through your eyes through a specific way that makes it convenient.
It takes light, turns it into a chemical reaction, et cetera, and that can cause problems. Right. Yeah.
Right. But the idea is basically, therefore, we don't actually know, when you said truth corresponds to reality, we don't actually know the bush in of itself. We only know the beam of light that came off the bush, and we don't actually even know the beam of light. We only know how our eye reacted to that beam of light, right? And so therefore, we don't actually have any firm proof of anything out in the real world. All we have are the phenomenon that are coming, the appearances of things in our brain, right?
And I basically admitted that when I said that we don't have 100% knowledge of anything, right? That there is always an element of our brains can be messed up, right? There are multiple causes of blindness. There are people who can't see all the colors, so we know that all this happens. And so, yeah, we can't know anything to 100%. We have to trust our senses for moving about and doing things to be as good as they possibly can be. But yeah, and not only that, we don't know anything at the exact time that it happened because light takes time to travel. So,
sure. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Right? Yeah, we can't, but it doesn't affect our ability. I mean, we still have to, despite that, come up with some way of dealing with the things that we see, avoid walking into trees or cars, know when to eat and where the fork is and how to grab it, right? That doesn't
Mm.
change any of that.
No, and that's a good point. Like even, well, I think too, language, like we use words to describe objects. But there's no real, if you think about it, there's no thing in existence called a bush. A bush is just a convenient word or convenient sound to be able to identify things that we see that are kind of similar, right? Because
As the great bard said, a rose by any other name is still a rose. You're absolutely right. Yes, but
no,
none
exactly
of that
right. So
changes. But none of that changes the fact that we still have to navigate reality, and so therefore, which is why we have to kind of define truth as that which comports to reality, and we can and add the caveat as we are best able to determine it with either our senses or with the machinery we used that to improve our senses or that are better than our senses, right?
okay, yeah, and I think what I'm hearing from you now is like we have a need to generate order to navigate the world. There's kind of a pragmatic, necessary element to knowledge. Okay, I do have to go. My friend is harassing me,
Okay,
so I just want to
no problem.
finish it off with saying that if your ethical system is subjective or arbitrary, and you don't have a foundation for 100% knowing truth, then I think that's all I can do as a Christian apologist to show why I think, my worldview is better or why the
But
atheist position
you
doesn't work.
haven't shown that your worldview is any different than mine, other than you go and attach God to everything we just discussed, and I don't.
Okay, so like for an example, right? Like
And if we apply the principle of parsimony to that, where do we end up?
parsimony. What do you mean by that? Sorry.
The principle of parsimony or Occam's razor, right? The best explanation is the simplest explanation that covers everything. And my atheism and my worldview is simpler than yours because you add God to it. Because we just basically agreed on the worldview and everything, right? I don't think we really disagreed on anything.
Well,
One
wait,
of us
wait,
adds
wait.
God to it, the other one doesn't, right?
Well, not quite, right? Because I used to be an atheist, and so for example, like the epistemic problem or all these other problems I brought up, like the mind body or the mind external world distinction or the is-ought
Right.
distinction,
And
these
I
don't these
agree. I agree that those exist. I just don't think they stop us from being able to do it anyway. Right? They are challenges to how we perceive the world, but we agree that those challenges exist and that we do it anyway. Your explanation, if I understand correctly, is that's because God allows us to. My explanation is this is just natural, what we expect. So you're adding
well,
God to the
yeah.
equation.
Well, I guess the point I'm making is that if all those problems do exist, it's a more fundamental collapse because we see that language isn't real, words don't actually have meaning. We can't prove
Oh,
there's
but
an
words
external
are
world.
real. Words are real. I'm literally, I am
Well, they don't
talking to
convey
you.
objective truth. They're just sounds, right? So they don't have a
Of course, if
necessary
they don't,
correspondence to truth.
how are we having a conversation if they don't convey objective truth?
That's a really good point. And that's what I'm saying basically is in the atheist position, words are just sounds. So even arguments and statements, predication
Yes,
is
but there's
meaningless.
sounds that represent objective things. Otherwise, we couldn't have a conversation.
Well, I gave the example of like, how do we know that we didn't just invent words and invent sounds to convey or
We did.
correspond to things we've seen, right?
We did.
Just to help us survive.
We did. And we see that
Well,
in animal species too, as I've already mentioned, right? Meerkats recognizing humans, dolphins having language, whales having language, dogs having language. All kinds of creatures have language. It's not as sophisticated and we don't always understand it, but they do communicate. And they may not communicate the way we do, but they still communicate through sound. We're not unique.
okay.
Right, the quality of the sounds that we make and the things that we understand and the things that we can communicate is probably, at a completely different level. That's true, but that doesn't mean
Okay.
it's that there's a supernatural explanation for it. When I can look around the world and go, I have a perfectly natural explanation.
I do have to go, but if I'm on again, like if you're doing another stream, I could go into why I think my worldview doesn't have the same problems or why it's different. But I do have to go for now. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, no problem. Talk to you later.
See you, man.
Bye. All right. That was a fun conversation. See, I can have perfectly calm conversations with people who are perfectly calm. So who else wants to come up and have a conversation? Anything is probably better than me rambling for a while. Yeah, there are exceptions, but it is basically slaves, chattel slavery existed. Unfortunately, you just can't get away from that. There is just no way to do it. Let me go back to here. There we go. Is this the one I want? No, that is not the one that I want. I have a well, shoot. I thought I had a comparison of actual slavery laws and the Bible and the Bible. It's not a one-for-one match, but you can definitely make the claim that chattel slavery laws were derived from the Bible if you go and you look at them. Let me see if I can find it. I changed my note-taking system, and I haven't. Not everything has caught up to it, and I don't have. Let me see if it's in the original one. One from Obsidian to Notion, and I'm not sure that was a good thing. Because I like the way Obsidian does things. So where is this thing? Is it under atheist arguments? Anyway, if you guys want to have a conversation, go ahead and invite yourself up, or I can invite you, however you want to do it. Also, please share the stream. That would be awesome. Gifts are also very welcome. Gosh, just Santa Claus for adults. Yes, we know. Yes, Jubilee existed, but it didn't exist for everybody. Oh, there it is. Biblical slavery and American slave laws. So we have Exodus 21, 2 through 11, and compare that to the Virginia Law of 1705, an act concerning servants and slaves, 1705 Virginia General Assembly. And if any woman servant who shall have a bastard child by a Negro or mulatto over and above the years of service due to her master or owner, she shall immediately upon the expiration of her time to her then present master or owner, pay down to the church wardens of the parish. Basically, it's almost the exact same thing. A woman who has children cannot be set free. And so you have a problem. And the fact that women were property and secondhand citizens at that time is still a problem for you Christians, just as indentured servitude is a problem for you Christians, even if you accept that. The South Carolina 1740, all Negroes and Indians and mulattoes are mestizos who are now or shall hereafter be in this province, and all their issue and offspring shall be, and they are hereby declared to be and remain forever hereinafter absolute slaves. In Leviticus 25, 44 through 46, the permanent enslavement of foreigners, is that what the title of that is as for your male and female slaves whom you may have, you may acquire male and female slaves from the pagan nations that are around you. Then too, it is out of the sons of the sojourners who live as aliens among you that you may gain acquisition, and out of their families who are with you, whom they will have produced in your land. They also become your possession. Possession is not indentured servitude, folks. You may even bequeath them to your sons after you to receive as a possession. You can use them as permanent slaves. So Yeah. Read your Bible, don't interpret it, and take it at face value. Yes, chattel slavery exists. That is the whole point. Chattel indentured servitude is also a problem, right? Even if I were to go, okay, fine, I grant you chattel slavery is not in there, it is still a problem. Folks, I'm going to head on over to DZ Debates. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for the great conversations and even the contentious ones. It was fun doing it, and I will see you guys over at DZ Debates. Have fun. Whoops.